It seems that one of the biggest outcries within the modern-day film landscape is for some semblance of original film to stake claim inside the modern-day box office. Every year, we're treated to sequels and reboots of past film properties, which are entertaining. But it almost seems rare nowadays to find anything wholly creative or fresh in premise and execution. Most of the films of this caliber lie within the independent film market, where up-and-coming filmmakers craft stories that feel uniquely human and offer an exciting new viewpoint inside a film specifically. In fact, indie film has garnered quite the resurgence lately, due in part to the efforts of independent film studios such as A24, who have made a career off of buying the rights of smaller indie films while also funding passion projects for filmmakers who have a unique vision and story to tell. This is exactly the case with their latest film, Death of a Unicorn, which arrives in theaters everywhere this Friday, March 28th. The film stars Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega as Elliot and Ridley, who are a father and daughter duo who feel strange with each other. On the way to the home of Elliot's boss, who invites them to foster a promotion for Elliot that he hopes will provide for both of them, a wild and weird set of circumstances befall the characters when they run over a unicorn with their vehicle on the way. Dragging the corpse to the home of Odell Leopold, who is a renowned pharmaceutical executive, the sinister humans plot to use the unicorn's mystical powers for nefarious purposes, all while the mommy and daddy unicorns stalk closer to the characters, wanting their baby back, and they are pissed. On paper, a premise like this seems absolutely ridiculous and almost unfilmable in certain aspects, but the single most surprising thing about Death of a Unicorn is how much it actually works. This is the closest thing we have gotten to a modern-day Jurassic Park, not just in premise, but in execution as well. I mean, there's so much of this that feels like a Spielberg film in nature, as the plot slowly simmers until the enthralling and thrilling middle act hits, where the film grabs its audience in an unrelenting grip and never lets go. The movie is thrilling from start to finish. The grandiose action set pieces make way for moments of perilous intrigue, and the middle portion of the film is chock full of moments where there is little time or room for these characters or the audience to catch their breath, as the movie, much like the unicorns themselves, is relentless and unforgiving in every aspect. The cast all do a phenomenal job of what they're given, as Jenna Ortega and Paul Rudd both do great work with their respective roles. Their dramatic depth is given such a great exploration as we examine a relationship between a child and a father who don't truly understand each other, but yet rely on each other all the same. One of the greatest things about this movie's cast is how game everyone is here to go completely off the rails when the script and story require it, which as a result allows the actors here to dial everything up to an 11. Will Poulter absolutely shines as Shepard, the son of the wealthy pharmaceutical executive. I've always been a big fan of Poulter's comedic sensibility and how strong he can be comedically in addition to dramatically, and here it's clear to see how talented he is in both aspects. His line readings are absolutely hysterical, making for moments that cut through the insurmountable tension and allows the audience to breathe in the process. Richard E. Grant and T. Leone portray the Leopolds with such a dramatic flourish. The best thing about their characters and performances here is how the film doesn't shy away from portraying these people as the stock antagonistic and over-the-top villain figures they are, which allows Grant and Leone to chew up the scenery with ease. Anthony Carrigan shows up in a memorable supporting role, and Sunita Mani is also equally great as the doctor overseeing the unicorn experimentation. The filmmaking on display is also particularly strong for a debut feature, as this is the first film directed by Alex Sharfman, yet he brings his own distinct visual style that allows this to feel wholly original and different in so many instances. The cinematography is surprisingly stylized, and some shots in this, including an impressive one take, feel so complete and nuanced for a debut feature. However, perhaps the best thing about Death of a Unicorn is how unabashedly fun it truly is. As mentioned, this is a classic creature feature dialed up to an absurd level. Every moment of this film is dedicated to relentless fun at the cost of substantial storytelling, but this film doesn't really need any complex thematic depth to make its interior work so well. Rather, it's operating at the best level when it truly becomes a B-movie creature feature. That's why one of the biggest problems with the film, and one of the things that ultimately holds this film back from greatness, is how it often doesn't lean entirely into that. The third act in particular feels like a different movie entirely, and feels quite poor when compared to the rest of the product up to that point. The movie tries to insert a sappy emotional arc between the two leads that doesn't feel particularly needed for a film like this. It's like the filmmakers involved saw the product was overtly silly and over the top, and decided to add a serious angle to it because they wanted the audience to somehow take the movie seriously. However, the movie doesn't need this angle to work. It's operating at its best when it doesn't take anything seriously and leans heavily into that creature feature over the top style. So it's kind of a baffling choice to see a movie insert something so heavy and thematically complex when it really doesn't need it to work overall. The surface level satire about the film also tries to impart about big pharma and how the medical industry is filled with selfish people going after their own selfish needs. And that message is obviously well-intentioned, but ultimately feels too on the nose in execution here and doesn't gain the depth it needs to stick a definitive landing. Some characters also feel wildly inconsistent in motives, and some third act choices specifically in this regard feel somewhat ill-informed and quite odd in comparison comparison. Also, it's somewhat disappointing to see a film like this that relies so heavily on computer-generated imagery for its effects, when it's blatantly noticeable in key areas throughout that practical might have helped blend the realism more in key scenes. Take Spielberg with Jurassic Park, for instance. That movie did use CGI imagery for the dinosaurs, yes, but this also blended this with practical puppets and effects work that the cast could physically interact with. This resulted in a blend that made everything feel much more real and nuanced as a result. It's quite noticeable here that, outside of some stationary shots of a dead unicorn puppet, everything here is computer-generated imagery. And it doesn't help that sense of realism of the film itself when the characters interact with these creatures and it doesn't feel real in the slightest. Now, I understand this is an independent film and the budget might not have been accounted for in a regard like that, but really all it needed to make that realism work is a few key moments scattered throughout the film, especially in key scenes where the actors are touching and interacting with the unicorns, which might have helped this feel more authentic and real overall. Overall, Death of a Unicorn is a movie that isn't going to be winning any awards next year, but it sure is a blast from start to finish. This is the exact type of movie that begs to be seen with a giant crowd on the big screen. I know my audience was sure firing and laughing at this. The movie hits its peak when it operates as a pulpy and stylized creature feature akin to the Jurassic Park films, and allows audiences to become truly immersed in a thrilling and anxiety-ridden ride that never lets go. Now, it does hit small lulls throughout and doesn't particularly stick the landing when it tries to become more than that, but if you take this movie at face value and go in with the right mindset, you're sure to find a humorous and incredibly fun film that is entertaining and enthralling from start to finish. That's why I'm giving Death of a Unicorn a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this review on my channel. If you're new around here and you like the content you see, don't forget to click that subscribe button down below, like the video, and turn on push notifications. Also, leave comment suggestions down below for future video, essay, and review topics. With that being said, until next time, this is Mitchell signing off. Peace out.